for a little career day. What are you guys here for anyway? You guys are here for the most exciting career that the future has to hold. Why? Because the whole world is coming to you through what? The lens. Absolutely right. Why is everything coming through the lens? Because that's just how it happens. We like to look at things. We're creatures of studying. And I have 3 people here that have been really dedicated to understanding how that works, how to package it, how to distribute it, and how to really learn how to become part of it. Anything that you want to become, you have a desire to become, you have to do it, right? Whatever it is that you think you have to, if you want to be a baseball player, you better find yourself in a baseball field. You want to be a fisherman, you better find a boat. Don't think that something's going to happen to you by just chance. I'm going to go to school and boom, it's all going to land and I'm going to have this thing. It starts right now, right? Whatever that thing that you want to become, whatever you're doing every day, that's what you become. It's really simple. Don't think you're going to become something overnight. It's a slow grind. These 3 professionals have dedicated the better part of their life to just learning it. And as you learn it, rewards come. And huge success, and people on the path to huge success, getting into major schools, and just finding that road to where you can literally create a career out of it. So I'm going to welcome 3 of my really dear friends, Natalie Gordon, Neil Gordon, take it away.
Natalie, why don't you start?
Hi, as Mr. Carey said, I'm Natalie Gordon. I have worked on a lot of independent. I went to Beverly, and I'm a KBEV alum, and I ran the Norman News, if you guys are a part of that, and I had my own show here, so that's cool. And then I went to USC, and I studied film, and I've done a lot of independent productions and a lot of sitcom pilots and short films and a ton of internships. So questions about those sort of things, you can direct to me.
I'm Neil Gordon. I went to USC also. I'm her father as well, so we have a father-daughter team here today. I'm a director-producer. I started out in rock and roll television, did a lot of shows that your parents probably knew, did a lot of reality television, America's Funniest Home Videos. I produced and directed that. A lot of Disney specials, Disney World's anniversary. A lot of different types of television, basically television and series and specials. And I can tell you that the opportunities are greater now than they've ever been before for people like you who are young to get in at the top of the industry. We'll talk about that a little bit more.
Michael Bina. I graduated here in '09. I ran KBEV when I was here, and after I went to NYU, I was in the Tisch School of the Arts, and I majored in dramatic writing and minored in producing in the Business of Entertainment, Media, and Technology. While at NYU, I started my own production company with my friend who also went to Beverly, and so we run that together. We've been running that for about 5 years. We do commercials and short films and Kickstarter videos and music videos, but now we're really getting into the YouTube scripted web space, which is really exciting because there are no rules anymore.
Can we dim the lights a little bit so we can see the audience? Is that possible? Is anyone here from technical?
I think they walked.
Ariane?
So, let's just poll the audience, see where your guys' heads are. How many here want to be actors? How many want to produce or direct? How many want to write? How many don't know what they want to do, but they're just interested in the industry? All right, so we've got a good cross-section.
How many want to do a mix of 1 or 2 of the things that he stated?
How many want to go to film school?
Okay. Have any of you applied to film school, been accepted? How many are seniors? Do you guys know where you're going?
A couple weeks, I think.
Yeah.
The most important thing I think that you can take away with you today, when I was in your situation, when I was in high school, technically the industry was not where it is today. Now you can make your own films. You can make them on a telephone. You can get them on the internet. People can see your work, and you don't have to be technically that knowledgeable to direct or produce or do a film. that's a great advantage because you can get your things seen. The most important thing, I think that Jonathan Prince really said it in the last session, and we should echo it here, is to do something. Don't be afraid of being bad. Most fear is what kills people. You have to fail in order to succeed, in order to learn.
Yeah, they say fear kills creativity. You have to be wanting to able to grow, and from failure comes growth. No one likes to fail, but
now's the time.
I think a good thing to do, you guys are all in high school, obviously. I think a really good thing to do at this point is to, if you make stuff like on your phones or on your cameras, that's great, but is to also learn a lot about what you like and what you don't like by watching movies, watching shows, just taking in everything you can, going to the theater all the time, watching things on Netflix, watching things that are not just from this generation but older, because there's a great history of film and TV out there. Go to the Paley Center, look at all the old TV shows, and just like learn what you like and what you don't like. So then, like, that can inform what you're gonna make. If you say, oh, I like, horror films, or I, don't like, dramas, or whatever you do and don't like, you can figure out what you're gonna make, what you like, and you'll just be absorbing so many things that you don't even realize about entertainment.
By the way, if we say something that you have a question, it's hard to see what you stand up and raise your hand right then and there if anything, you have a question about anything that we're talking about.
So I think if you watch, personally for me, some good, like I produce a lot of stuff. I'm a producer and I do a lot of independent work, etc. And I think what I did was I learned a lot. In high school, I did KBEV, and so I learned a lot of the technical stuff there, but I watched, as I said, tons of things and learned what I liked and what I didn't like. And then when I went to college, I started...
What did you like and what didn't you like?
What I like and what I don't like, I mean, personally, I like more... for me, I believe that film is fun as an escape. I know that a lot of people, believe in film as like a tool for, political things and for realism, etc. I think that's great, but what I want to make is film that's escapist and spectacle and fun and exciting and makes people just like entertained and, their heart leaps. And that's, so whether that's, comedy, romantic comedy, musical, historical drama, whatever I do, I want things that are fun and make people excited.
You had a question?
Like a story, if you will, like in a fictional world.
Yeah, story and that is what film and television are at their core. Stories and fictional world. Unless you do documentary, which is a different subject, but if you learn a little bit about what you like and don't like, then you can go on to college, deepen that even more, and start really making more things, and then you can go out into the world and work professionally.
I also find it helpful. I was telling the kids in the other panel when they came up to me that to watch things you don't like that a lot of people do and figure out why they're so successful, why an audience goes to see them, what made, a character, or was it the story, or was it, for example, La La Land. A lot of people love that movie. It wasn't for me, but I've spent so many hours watching it, analyzing it, figuring out why has this $35 million movie made $400 million worldwide, won so many Oscars. Why do people love this movie? And it really helps.
That's brilliant. That's how you become successful, what he's doing. You don't produce a program or a movie or a play for yourself. You produce it for an audience. You're not once you step into this business and you start looking at things the way you're forced to look at them in order to function, you cease to be the audience. You're not the average viewer. So you don't write something just for you. I mean, you have an interest in it, but you make it for an audience. And what he said was absolutely brilliant. You can't fail if you have the ability to take something apart and analyze why it's working, even if you don't like it. That's a great point.
Or why it's not working. Take great flops and say, like, well, what is it, like Ishtar or Howard the Duck, and why did people hate that? Why did George Lucas make a film about a Marvel duck and then it was super unsuccessful? Look at that and figure it out and say, okay, I get why this failed.
Figure
and then
out
you won't do
how
that.
you would fix it.
Exactly.
Say, oh, I watched this movie, I don't like it. Well, what would I have done differently? There's different ways to do that, just different way to analyze what you're watching.
Exactly. And then beyond watching, I think that there is a lot of potential to like apply that knowledge to what you want to make and to what you want to do, and then to use like, okay, like you're always going to be learning. That's one thing I think all of us can agree on in this industry, is that you're never going to stop learning. It's not like you go to high school, you go to college, and then you cease to like know everything you want to do, and that's it. Like movies continually come out. You're always going to say, oh, I like what this person did and what that person did, and you're always going to want to incorporate things. I think everyone can agree.
Also, while you're at the level you're at right now, it's important to learn as much about the other things, the other elements that go into what you do, the technical elements. Learn how to use a camera. You're never going to be a cameraman when you
Maybe you will.
But the fact that you know how to operate a camera will go wonders when you're trying to explain to a cameraman something, and you can look at it from his perspective. I always tell everybody that wants to direct, take an acting class. Most directing students have never been directed. They've never been put in a situation where they're an actor. And they're dealing with actors. You have to know what an actor, learn as many different parts of the industry, experience them as you can, because they will all come back to help you in your whatever you endeavor to do.
That's where internships come in too. I think that if you let's say you want to, like, I've always wanted to produce, but I knew that if I did some internships in the business side, like digital distribution or things like that, I would learn a whole other end that would inform like producing. Or if you want to direct, maybe intern in casting or something that can like aid what you want to do. And internships are like this amazing experience where you just get to do
about
it.
your specific internships that you've done.
Okay.
I've done a ton too, so we can.
Cool. Okay, so I interned at 2 different production companies, one called Temple Hill Entertainment and one called Atlas Entertainment. Both of them did film and television. Temple Hill, I guess maybe, do you guys know the Twilight films or like any of the like Fault in Our Stars and that stuff? That's what Temple Hill did, and Atlas does all the like DC films like Batman versus Superman and all those ones that flopped. So I interned at those 2 companies, and when you intern at a production company, you read a lot of scripts. You do production companies do what's called development. So the producers take the script and they read it and they develop it with the director and the writer, etc. And when you're an intern at those companies, you read tons of scripts and you write what's called coverage on it, which is like a little plot description and like your opinion on the script, so the executives can read that instead of the whole script. You do a lot of small tasks too, but you get great exposure to people, and you get to go into meetings, and you get to work on desks for producers and take calls, etc., and listen in on calls, which is great. And then I also interned at 20th Century Fox in digital distribution, which is the distribution of content on like iTunes and Amazon and Google Play. And that I got to learn a lot about the businessy end, like we had just released like Deadpool when I was there, so I was like, oh, what made Deadpool such a great sale on digital was something I got to analyze really well, and that was super helpful for wanting to produce.
You read La La Land before it was.
Yes, indeed, I did. And how about you? Where'd you intern?
I've interned at nonprofit organizations that help women in film, production companies, studios in the marketing publicity department, management companies, agencies. I used internships as a way to network, meet people, and create a kind of well-rounded kind of network of people, and that I didn't intern at just production companies. I kind of wanted a whole kind of different way of going into the business, and I have my own production company, and so I started it while I was in college because I wanted to create my own content, because you're creators. If you want to act, you act. If you want to write, you write. But if you have a script, if you have 10 scripts on a computer, you want to see it get made. So I took on a producing and directing hat and took the scripts that I'd written and stuff like that, and just decided to make them.
Michael, starting your own company, that's got to be, to keep the doors open and keep the cash, that's got to be a tough thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, the way we do that is by doing these kind of commercials and music videos and stuff like that.
What commercials have you done?
We do a lot of actually like small, not like Kickstarter campaign commercials. Really
People
big
need
ones
a professional company to
exactly, like they want to raise $250,000 and they want their commercial to go viral. We develop that with them. We work with companies that wanted $30,000, and we made a video and it went viral, and they ended up making, I think, 90 or 100 or something like
So your long-term goal is to do the movies, but your short-term is to do these types of videos.
Exactly, and this brings in cash flow, and it brings in money for me to produce my other projects, and it also allows me to direct and produce. Directing a commercial and producing a commercial or a music video is not so different from directing or producing a short film or a web series or
A lot of
hopefully a
feature
feature.
directors have come out of music videos.
David Fincher,
Yeah.
who has directed Gone Girl and The Social Network and Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. He started in the 90s doing a lot of Madonna music videos.
I think also what I didn't know when I was in high school, is that like while it's like amazing to like open your own place or whatever, sometimes it can seem really scary to like go out there and like be like an independent person and like have a like have your own company and like just go it alone. And I think what people don't realize is that to direct, produce, write, there's also this whole other route in the industry where you can kind of work your way up from being an assistant to somebody who is doing that already. So it's like you can go out and sort of do it independently, or you could sort of work your way up this sort of like assistant to, executive or director, and that's like another route that I don't think people talk about
There's so
as
many
much.
different ways
Yeah.
to just kind of navigate this industry, because we were talking about the last panel, like you don't even need to go to college. There are people who've made it who don't even have high school diplomas.
Quentin Tarantino.
I encourage people. In the last 10, I used to tell people if you want to direct, you start out as an assistant director or a coordinator, you work your way up. I don't tell them that anymore. The business has changed. Technically, you don't have to be that proficient to direct anymore or to produce. It's very easy if you have a clear vision and you know what you're going for. So I tell people to take the most expedient route to accelerate up the ranks, and when you get a certain level, it becomes horizontal. I know managers and agents who represent stars who became producers and directors, not because they particularly knew how to produce, but because they managed a star, and then somebody wanted them in the movie, and they said, "You can have my star if I can direct it." So I've changed the way I advise people now. If you've got if you've got an uncle who owns an agency, you don't want to be an agent, but you got an uncle that owns an agency, get in that agency and accelerate your way through, and when you hit a certain level, you'll be able to move laterally across. That's really important for nowadays.
I like to who wants to act? What are the last things you've acted in?
I was in the school musical.
The spelling bee?
Yeah.
Great. I talk to so many people who, I want to act. What's the last thing you've acted in? No, I want to act. Well, are you in acting class? Are you going out doing short films for college students? Are you, auditioning? What are you doing? Oh, I like to write. What have you written? Oh, no, I just have a lot of ideas. Can I read one of your scripts? Oh, it's not done yet.
Before we
You
go
have
on
to
to
really be initiative. You
yeah,
have to take the initiative to want something and do it. Because in this industry, no one's going to hand you anything. Even if you have industry connections. If you say you're a writer, well, what have you written? Are you an actor? Yeah. What have you acted in?
I think we should take some questions before we go on. If anyone has any questions, and don't be shy about asking them. We're totally happy to answer.
Make them up if you don't have it.
Yeah, seriously. Yes.
Have you ever heard of the director or producer Chuck Lorre?
Yes.
Chuck Lorre, yeah, all
Yeah,
the Two and a
correct.
Half Men and what's the other one? He did Big Bang Theory, I think.
He has Big Bang, Mom,
Yeah.
Two and a Half
He's
Men.
CBS Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about
Two
him?
Broke Girls, I think.
Yeah, I think Two Broke Girls.
Yeah.
Anything in specific about him?
No, I was just wondering if you knew him or knew about him.
Are you interested in his work?
Yeah, I watched the Big Bang Theory a lot.
Are you interested in doing those kind of multi-camera sitcoms? 'Cause that's a really interesting format.
So how many people want to do comedy here?
Woo.
Not a lot of people. Comedy is tough. What do you like about comedy?
I like how it just makes people laugh, and I like to make people laugh. It's a more enjoyable experience, in my opinion.
What are your favorite comedies?
Probably I like what's it called? Well, there's a bunch of comedies I can't really think at the top of my head right now, but I like.
Every put you on the spot. That's
Yeah, because there's different, there's
Yeah.
horror comedies, there's black comedies, there's dark comedies, there's, if you want to do TV, there's single camera sitcoms, there's multi-camera
Kinda
sitcoms.
like like Family Guy, like that type of continuity.
The advice
Is there
some.
a question
Satire.
back there?
Oh yes,
somewhere?
question.
I see a hand go up.
Well, the advice. Oh yeah, back there. I think I see a hand. Yes.
So, like, in your opinion, why was Get Out such a success?
Get Out. Oh, okay. Well, first of all, Jordan Peele was sort of like this unexpected auteur of cinema, where it's like, whoa, this guy who's in front of the camera doing comedy is like this amazing director. Also, it has a really, really interesting story that's like very important for this time that we're in, and it tells a story that, like, do you guys know what Get Out is? First of all, everyone, yeah, okay. Well, if you don't, it takes. It turns something into a horror film. I don't want to like ruin it, but it turns something into a horror film that like is a very fascinating story that makes it into horror. And I think that the sort of genre flip of like taking this like bringing your boyfriend home to your family and turning that into a horror film, involving issues of race, etc., is something that's so unique and never been really done before, that I think that's part of why it's so successful and it struck a nerve. Do you have any?
I haven't seen it yet, but from what I've heard is that every so often there's a movie that comes out, time and place, and I think that was when it was released, it was the perfect kind of political situation the kind of country is in, and so people are very interested in that story and what it has to tell.
You see Aliens in the Attic? I remember
He loves that film.
that was the first one of that genre, a comedy horror movie. It was a great idea. Somebody put it together. Yeah, you can try. They tried different things. There's something about plagiarism in this industry that takes place. It's like when they did Romeo and Juliet and they redid it as West Side Story. People are continually reinventing the same stories over and over again. Doesn't mean they're stolen. It doesn't mean that they're not creative. But you start with a basic premise, and you look at any movie that's out there, and it comes from a basic 11 premises that they have.
Who saw La La Land? Okay, so most of you did. So that's to go off his point. La La Land takes a lot from other films. That's like a game people play. They go see it and they say like, count how many films you can catch the reference from. Singing It in the Rain, Umbrellas of Cherbourg, like all these different musicals and old films, and that's like, and it was so successful. Yet it borrowed so much from old cinema. So something about like seeing, like, it goes back to like finding out what you like and what you don't like, and borrowing from what you like, sort of like the way something looks, or like a sort of visual style you like, or a kind of character type you want to include. Like, you have this history of film and television at your disposal on your phone, on your computer, wherever, that you can use it to inform what you want to do, and then no one's gonna like kill you for borrowing certain ideas, because there's so many great ideas that have been done.
If you have a motive, if you can't get motivated to do something, take your favorite movie and remake it. Do it differently.
Yeah, rewrite it. It's a great exercise. Like, how would you take, someone yell out their favorite film? Anyone? Okay, my favorite film, When Harry Met Sally. Like, how could I make When Harry Met Sally into a 21st century
Make it
romantic comedy?
make it a comedy horror movie.
Yeah, do something totally different with
Harry
your favorite
Met
film if you
Sally.
want to write it that way. That's a good
Flip it.
exercise. Flip it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, almost everything that you watch comes from something else entirely, even if it's just one scene or a line of dialogue. I love to use like Lion King as an example. Lion King is Shakespeare's Hamlet.
And the most amazing thing is the people that write these things think they've written an original thing, and they're very, very uppity, very highbrow about it. And it's the same thing over and over.
The highest-grossing movie of all time, Avatar. Who has seen Avatar? That is scene by scene Pocahontas. The story of Avatar is Pocahontas.
Yes?
I thought the highest grossing movie was Gone with the Wind.
Adjusted for inflation.
Yeah.
But not adjusted for inflation, it's Avatar.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
If you want like more of a behind the scenes behind the camera job, like director, like promoter, I'd say, like to promote actors and actresses, how would you get
You mean like a manager or agent?
Yeah.
Assistant at an agency.
Are you a senior?
No, professional.
Okay, so all these, I mean, you guys live in Los Angeles. A lot of these agencies have summer internships for high school and college students. Call them in the spring, call them in the fall, say, when can I apply? And there's summer programs, and you work in the mailroom, and you meet agents, and you build connections, and once you get in college, maybe you work there a little more, internships, and then once you get out, you say, hey, I've just graduated college, I would love to apply for an assistant position.
And the fact that you come from Beverly Hills High helps because Mr. Carey has gotten more people into this industry than probably any other high school teacher that I've ever come across.
Well-
His recommendation goes a long way. And if you want to get a summer intern job somewhere, get his help with that. Ask him that where you can go. He knows about these things. There's prestige coming from this school.
So that's exactly what I was going to say, is that I know some of you guys are seniors. It's a little different, but if you're not a senior, I know Michael will agree with me. KBEV is a great place to learn, like to hone your technical skills or to learn how to deal with people in front of the cameras. You want to work with actors or, all sorts of things, and you can create a show, do something, interesting, and this is a great place to just learn and like hang out with people who love film like you and television like you do.
Even the theater program here
Theater's
is great.
too. There was a film club here when I was.
Use the resources that you have, not just at your high school, but like Los Angeles. There's so many, programs available and internships available for you guys.
I saw a hand back there. Yes.
So like, what do you think about like how the direction of like online television's going, like with like hit shows like Stranger Things or Narcos or either Orange is the New Black, or like how does those shows have an effect? I mean, they have a big effect. It's like they're hits, they're good shows, but like what are those things? Those shows?
They're edgier. The whole point is that they're edgier. They're an opportunity to do something that you can't. That every genre, whether it's Netflix or whether it's cable or whether it's over-the-air network, they have to come up with something that's uniquely them because they're competing with so many other venues now. So those shows are all edgier. They use more sophisticated premises. They're shot differently. Some of them are more reality oriented. Everyone's got their own little moniker.
Because they're subscription based, the studio doesn't need to kind of, worry if advertisers are going to advertise with them or not. That's why the network dramas are a little more nudity, no cussing and stuff like that, because the advertisers, Coca-Cola, car companies, they want to make sure that the products that they are advertising during the program do not kind of interfere with their company.
There's
Also,
an implied endorsement. If you're advertising on a television show and the television show is talking about drug use, there's the audience tends to think they're endorsing drug use. So they have to be very careful with things like that.
Also, things like those Netflix shows blur the line a lot between what is film and what is television. And I think that that's a line that's, as you guys enter entertainment, will be blurred even further. Sort of like what is, I don't know if you guys have seen the show Sherlock, but the show Sherlock, was on the BBC, and it was an hour and each episode was an hour and a half, and they released 3 episodes a year. Each one was like its own film. So that that's so different, like from the network dramas, 22 episodes a season, 45 minutes ish each. So to have something that's so different, Netflix plays into that too. That blurs the line between film and television, means that there's a lot more crossover that you can jump very easily. David Fincher, who you were talking about before, who directed The Social Network and music videos back in the 80s and 90s, directed the first few episodes of House of Cards, the Netflix show. So that's something like, wow, he went from film over to television, and that show was very cinematic because of him. So it just means you can jump more easily.
There are really no more rules anymore.
Yeah.
You could have a 3-episode series on Netflix. You can have a 4-hour movie in the movie theater. You can have 10 episodes on Netflix. You can have 13. It's whatever you want it to be, or whatever the studio allows.
Exactly. I saw another hand up front, I thought. Or did my eyes deceive me? Oh, yeah.
Do you know the movie Dog's Purpose?
Yes.
Yes.
Wasn't there like a video release of like them drowning a dog while filming it? How do you think that could have been avoided by production?
Well, there's no need to drown a dog. There's no shot you can't get faking it without you killing a dog. That's ridiculous. I mean, you're not ridiculous. The fact that somebody would even put a dog in jeopardy I've done things with animals where we had them sliding down. We had a Dalmatian slide down a fire pole at a fire station. All I did was had the Dalmatian walk up to the pole. I got a stuffed replica of the Dalmatian. We sewed him onto the pole. We dropped him down. We shot it. Then we had the dog at the bottom. We put him the live dog back. There's no reason to ever. There's nothing that you're going to do that should ever jeopardize. That's the art and the beauty of film, is that you can show all these things without actually doing them.
You also have responsibility as filmmakers to make sure that everyone who is working on your project is safe and you don't break any rules, because the last thing you want to do is hurt or injure, you know.
But also, the fact that you know about that A Dog's Purpose controversy is good in and of itself. I think something everyone can do is, if you have Facebook, go on Facebook and follow The Hollywood Reporter and Variety and all these different online things where they put articles right on Facebook. They link to all sorts of articles that you can read. I read, many articles every day from Variety and all these publications that talk exclusively about film, Cinema Blend, Deadline, whatever you like. And if you read about them, you become sort of automatically plugged into the industry and informed. So if you do go to get an interview for an internship, or you want to go to film school, or whatever you want to do, you are when you talk to people, you know what's going on, and you feel more a part of the industry because you're informed about everything that's happening in it.
Yeah, the internet is great. Deadline, Variety, The Wrap, Hollywood Reporter. Don't just read the articles, also read the comments. I think the comments are great because there's a lot of trolls on them too. But you gotta want to know what everyone is thinking and why they're thinking that.
It's an industry. It's not an isolated career. You're part of a bigger element. And the more you know about it, the better off you are.
Do you have a question, Ben?
Never mind. I got the answer. Never mind.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Natalie, how'd you get your internships?
How did I get my internships? Through a lot of applications, through literally calling places. I would go through, and I would go on, the internet, and I would say, okay, I like this film. What's the production company, or what is the agent behind it? Or I interned for a management company. I was like, who's the manager, whatever. And
it's not hard to find that information.
Yeah.
And all those places are actually looking for people like you guys to work for them.
Yeah, sometimes a lot of people, they'll just apply to Disney online and throw their application and be like, oh, I don't know, maybe I'll get it, maybe I won't. But if you really want to be proactive, call places that you like, that are companies that you really like. Talk to someone actually on the phone. Say, what is the email address of the person that takes internship applications, and then send in your resume, send in a cover letter, and then that's how you'll get a lot of internships. There are so many companies that are hungry for interns. Great companies. Question, yes.
So what exactly did you do for your internship?
Okay, well, so it depends on the place, but a lot of the stuff that I did that in the production company side, it was a lot of it was tons of what I described earlier, coverage. So you're reading tons of scripts for the executives, and you're writing short summaries of the scripts, and then you're writing your own comments, like whether you think they should pass on the script or do this, consider the script, and then that way the executive doesn't have to read 1,000 scripts a day. They could just read the sort of short description. So you're being 1 second, we'll get to you. You're being really entrusted with reading things, which is great. There are menial tasks you do, go on runs and pick up lunches for people and stuff, but I think the majority of what you do is sit in on meetings, read scripts, talk to executives, learn. I think you've had similar experiences.
Also, ask.
Yeah.
Hey, can I sit on this meeting? Hey, is there anything you want me to do? There's been so many days where I've been at my internships where I've literally had nothing to do, and I would go up to one of the producers at a desk and be like, hey, do you need help? And even if they say no, they'll know that next time you are willing to help them out. And that's how you build relationships in these production companies. Maybe you're just working for one producer, but if you're not doing anything for that one, go talk to other people. Ask people if they need help. Just build your network.
Yeah, internships.
You had a question. One question real fast.
You're gonna hold on to your question. It's not going anywhere. Trust me. One of the things, I used to have interns for 15 years, and those interns would come to me from international sources, and they'd come as just raw, kind of really eager to kind of figure out what Hollywood's like. A lot of them didn't even speak very good English, but they left with understanding, and they all, a good number of them started businesses. Some of them I didn't want them to leave. Internships are about opportunity, and really it's like a box seat into that world without any real responsibility. And it's really up to you to turn that opportunity into a job. There were instances where people showed up and made themselves so useful that I couldn't get rid of them. I'd like beg them to stay because they were like irreplaceable. And they filled a void that basically they would do the job better than the other person. They would just find a way to make a job for themselves. That's what internship's about. And more than that, if you're really smart, you look for who's running that company and park yourself behind that person, because that's your mentor. I want to be that person who's that successful. I'll do anything to live in that shade and to make his life easier or her life easier, to figure out what their job is, because I want their job. And you'll have their job. If you actually follow all those success stories, a good number of them are just like that. All they did was park themselves behind the leader, and they became the leader.
When you work for an internship, you're just like, wow, I can't believe I'm working for this person. If you're good at your job, the person who you're working for said, wow, I can't believe this person is working for me. If you're at a production company and you're reading a bunch of scripts and you kind of know their brand, go out, do research, see if there's a script that, you know, maybe your friend at another production he has read that is not for them, but is for yours. Or
Blacklist.
if you do a lot of work for your producer at the end of the semester or whatever, you say, hey, I was wondering if you'd do me a favor. Would you read something I wrote? They'll say yes. They will not say no to you because they know how much work and good work you've put in.
What's your question?
How do you find internships? How do you know where to send your application? And
They all take interns.
No, it's a lot of what I don't know what you did, but you can talk about that. But what I did was I went online and I found a lot of companies. Well, first of all, if you go to college or school, often have like a job board, and that's a good place too. But also, you go online and you say, oh, I like this actor. Who is their agent? Who's their manager? What's that company? Oh, I like this film. Who produced that? What's their production company? And then you just literally Google their phone number, call them, say who takes what is the email address for the person who takes
90%
internship
of them are
applications.
Los Angeles based. So
Yeah.
if you have like a favorite TV show, for example, or a favorite movie, just go online, see which production company started it, and you can find the phone number of that production company, and you call them and you say, hi, I am a student. I was wondering if you have any internships for summer available. You know, when you go into these kind of smaller production companies, there's only 3-4 people sometimes working at these places. And so you'll get a producer, you get a coordinator, and they'll say, hey, yeah, we're looking, or, we filled out internships for this one, but mind calling us again in 6 months.
I'll tell you a secret too. What's very gratifying is when a student calls up and says, I know your company. I know that you did this and this and this, and I want to intern at your company.
Yep.
That's a very impressive thing when you come in and you know what these people have done. And you say, I always wondered when you did this, how did you arrive at that? If you can engage them in conversation about what they love, which is their company, you can get an internship there.
Yay.
Any other questions?
How many?
Entourage,
What?
Entourage.
Yes.
Yes.
I really like it. Like, even though it's kind of old, but like, why was it? Well, to me, like, I want to know, like, why is it so appealing? Like,
I'm sorry. What? Say it again.
the show Entourage.
Yeah.
Like, the production is HBO, right?
Yes.
That's the studio. So there's probably a smaller production
Doug
company.
Ewan.
The producers who brought it to HBO, and HBO pays for it.
I think it was developed. Maybe not, I don't know. But that show was really successful, I think, because it was fun and it was exciting and it was flashy, and it took, like, if you watch, I don't know if you guys watch it, but it's about a guy who who was an actor and his whole entourage, and they put him in the center of the entertainment industry. So they brought in a lot of real people to be around him, like real people from real Hollywood to like play his friends, etc. So you really felt like this character from Entourage was in entertainment. So it made people themselves, by looking at this character, feel like they were at the center of the entertainment industry, and that fascinates people. So I think that's a little bit of why it was successful.
And people had never seen that side of the business before.
Yeah.
It was very honest and it was very real, and the lead character of Ari was based on a real agent and all that stuff.
Oh, yes?
Would you say that a film major is important in going to a film scene?
I mean, I was a film major, so I can't. So I do, but I mean, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think you have to do it. I think there's so many other routes. There's English majors. There's no majors at all. There's not going to college. There's doing whatever you like. I loved it. I personally thought it was great for me, but it's not necessarily for everyone.
The industry is in a
Yeah.
state of change right now in that technology is taking it over so quickly. It used to be, when I was your age, if you shot something, you couldn't see it until the next day because you had to take it to film and you had to develop it. Now they progressed to where you don't have to technically do anything. You can just look at your television monitor and watch the scene being recorded. So the truth of the matter is you could be an English major and write a great script and direct it and never have been to film school. It's helpful to go to film school. You learn, it will enrich your career in whatever you do, even if it's not in film, but it's not necessary.
The guy who wrote The Hurt Locker, who won the Oscar for original screenplay, was a journalist in rock before. The girl who wrote Juno, Diablo Cody, she was a stripper. She didn't go to film school. There are no rules. You have a story, okay. Open up a document on your computer and write it.
You can take adult film classes at any of at SC or UCLA, and you can learn very quickly what you're going to, the technical part of this business.
And there are summer also, if you don't want to do a film school, oftentimes film schools have summer programs.
Yeah.
So if you want a little flavor of it, but you don't want to commit to 4 years of film school, that could be an interesting
NYU,
thing.
USC have great summer programs where you go live on campus, and the teachers and the faculty who work there.
You're immersed.
You do it in high
teach you.
school too. You do it in high school.
Yep.
And oftentimes people do that if they want to apply to the film schools there. They make films in those programs, so they use the film they made in the program to apply to film school. And it's good if you want to do that, or if you just want to do it to get the flavor of what film school is.
I'll say,
So was that, you know how films had to be, you had to wait a day to see the final product? Is that why they shot multiple scenes, suppose of the same scenes that in case one scene failed?
yeah, yes. I used to get a good take, and I'd move on. The producer would say, "Come back, get one more, just in case it doesn't develop or something." So we would do multiple takes. We would do things like that. I thought of a story. There was a guy that I went to film school with, who, when I graduated film school, I went to work as a runner. I started at the bottom of a PA at the bottom rung. He went to law school. He graduated law school 4 years later and passed the bar. He never practiced law a day in his life, but he was hired immediately by an agency as an agent because they felt he had a credential. And he went on to own the agency, and he sold it for multiple millions of dollars. And he went a different route. That's a good example of somebody who used his ability to excel through the ranks quickly so that it became horizontal at a certain point.
And be open to different, positions and jobs in the industry. A lot of actors end up directing and writing. A lot of writers, not a lot of writers, but some writers just say, hey, I want to act. Or some directors, hey, I'm going to start writing. Producers start writing. Camera operators who have worked in visual effects are now the directors of Maleficent and Alice in Wonderland because they know the visual effects world.
And also, maybe not, but probably what you want to do now, in terms of entertainment, will change. It changed, I think, for probably everyone up here a number of times. I wanted to do that, maybe not, but I've noticed a lot of people.
The industry changes.
The industry changes, and maybe you want to direct now, but you'll find out you actually want to be an agent. Or maybe you want to write now, you find out you actually want to be a cinematographer. You never know, and there's so many options. If you love entertainment, there's so many different things to do, jobs you might not even know about now. So don't be rigid, I have to direct. Be oh, I see that there's this new pathway that could be interesting for me. Or
you're contributing to telling a story, whether you're an agent or you're a business manager or you're a director or a writer. You're all servicing that final thing, which is you're telling a story.
Small piece of a large puzzle.
And technology. Be open to working in VR or working in, wherever the technology takes us next, because it might, things could change and film might not always be the way it is now. So be open to doing new routes and if you see a new technology and you think it's great and you want to sort of be a pioneer in that, don't be afraid to do that.
is it possible for like somebody to both direct and be an actor in a movie?
Of
My
course.
daughter just did it.
No.
Not her, my other daughter. She wrote her own film. She starred in it and she directed it. It was a big undertaking. It's the hardest thing in the world to do is direct yourself because you're the least objective person. But she did it, and it came out very well. So it's
Ben
definitely
Affleck directed
possible.
himself in Argo.
And one
Denzel
thing was-
Washington directed himself in Fences. People do
I
it.
remember one other actor directing himself in Hamlet.
Yes, Laurence Olivier.
there have been tons throughout history who've directed themselves, and it's hard, and you rely on people, but it's good. Is that the wrap up sign or the 2 minutes? I can't say. 5 minutes.
Sylvester Stallone, when he was directing Rocky II, never looked at a video playback the whole time he was there. He said as an actor he knew when he had the feeling was there, and he knew when it was the right take, and he was obviously right because he directed an award-winning movie.
Yeah, Sylvester Stallone was an actor and he wasn't getting any work. And one day he decided, well, I want to tell this story. And he wrote Rocky in 3 days. He wrote the original Rocky in 3 days. And people loved it, and they wanted to make it, and they wanted to buy it from him. And his contingency was, no, I will not give you the script unless I star in it. And so,
The
he
studio
got a lot of no's, but then he got one yes. And then Rocky was made, and it wins Best Picture. And he's nominated for Best Actor. And he's nominated for Best Original Screenplay. But that's someone who took initiative, who said, okay, I'm an actor. I'm not getting the roles that I want. Why is that? Okay, well, what am I good at? I'm good at sports, boxing. Well, this is a great story that I came up with. I'm going to write it for myself.
Studios tend to hedge their bet. If they get a script that they like, they want to put a name actor in there because that contributes to the backing up their investment, because people go to see it just because it's a name actor. Sylvester, he said no. He said, if I don't do it, it's not going to be made. So you're right. He looked at what he did best. He wrote something for himself. Then he wanted to direct it. They wouldn't let him direct number 1, but they let him direct 2, 3, and the rest of them.
It's important to remember that whatever you want to do, it could take a long time to do it, but that doesn't mean it's going to be any less valuable. You said you all saw La La Land. It took, I want to say, 6 years when producers started working on it, but I think he wrote it probably over 10 years ago.
Have you guys seen Whiplash?
Oh God, same director as La La Land.
Same director as La La Land. He wrote La La Land before Whiplash.
Mm-hmm. He got into the industry as a horror film writer. He just wanted to write anything, and he wrote all of these horror films that he won't even admit to because they're rewrites of B horror movies. And he wrote so many things, and he wanted to make La La Land, but to make La La Land happen, he had to make Whiplash. To make Whiplash happen, he had to make a short film version of it that went to Sundance. Took the short film, people loved the short film. They said, okay, now we'll give you the money to make the feature film. He got the money to make the feature film, and then he's like, okay, now that I've made this, and it's successful, I'm well known enough, I can finally make La La Land.
Patience, but also knowing what you want.
Yes.
And also saying sometimes no is a very powerful thing.
Are there any last questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
For actors that just started acting, what do you guys suggest to do? Find short films or films like actually Disney shows for young actors? Or?
Yeah, there's a lot of college kids and a lot of
Actors
Access. Kids out of school who are making short films.
If you look like the producer's concept of the character, usually the producers are the writers and Disney projects. If you look like the character, you got the role. I've cut around some really bad performances in my time because they go for a look more than an acting ability. So it's a good opportunity for someone to get in.
But if you want experience, in front of a camera, go and act in a college kid's short film.
And the best way to do that is to get on this website called Actors Access, which is a website that you can put your resume,
photos, your reel, and audition for stuff,
and you submit your name. You'll see these breakdowns of okay, this is a part for a 16-year-old, someone who looks 16 and is a redhead or whatever, and they'll say, and then you can submit your resume and your resume and headshot to it, and then they might call you in for an audition, and that way you get auditions. Actors Access is a great tool for actors.
Yep. But you're going to have to do that to get it. No one's going to come to you and say, hey, you look like an actor, be in my short film. Yeah.
But do you guys think that you should go for why are short films, they don't pay anything? Are they good for resume?
They're great
Build your
for
credits.
Yeah, and
They're good
for example, let's say a director is doing a short film because he wants to get funding for his feature. He casts you in a small role, okay? And he gets money for the feature. If you're good, if you're a good actor, if you have a good work environment on set, he or she might say, wow, I really enjoyed working with her. I would put her in this feature.
The investors want to see the same people in there.
Yeah, it's like if you build up your resume credits and your reel with short films, then you will be, then you like it's a good building place instead of like coming in right at the top. You can sort of like that which is really hard. You can
Yeah.
build things up.
I work with actors all the time.
Yeah.
I love working with the same actors all the time because I know they are reliable. I know they will show up knowing their lines. I know how to direct them. I know how to produce them. It's just once you build a relation, it's why directors work with the same actors
Tim Burton,
all the time.
Steven Spielberg.
You know, because once you build a relationship with someone, at the end of the day, this is a job. This is work. So you want to have a pleasant working experience. If you like working with someone, you're going to keep working with the same person over and over.
And that applies outside of actors too. If you look at the credits, a director will often use the same cinematographer or the same, producers or the same, people in the second unit directors, whatever, because they like them. Any final words?
That's it. Thank you very much.
If you have any questions, you can
Come take a Tootsie.
Yeah, you can take candy.
I'll take some candy. And if you have any questions, you can ask Ms. Dubin for my email, and you guys can just email me. If you want me to watch something, read something, just let me know.
Or give out Jonathan. Take it, Jonathan.
Yeah. I have to run to the next one.
Good luck.
Nice meeting you.
Yes, yes, yes.
Nice to just meet you.